Don't diddle in the middle. That is the quote of the day. That is the number one rule. What am I talking about? Don't diddle in the middle. Success, or any meaningful degree of success, requires you to pick a direction, up or down. Now, at different points, you'll have to go up, and then at others, you'll have to go down. Requires different directions. But ultimately, we choose a direction because this is going to lead us to the best version of whatever our current circumstances are. For example, let's say body transformation. Now, in your journey to body transformation or creating a meaningful body transformation, there will be times where you'll have to focus on gaining weight, and there will be times where you have to focus on losing weight. Right? You don't really go perpetually in one direction forever. Eventually, you'll have to change directions and go in the opposite direction. So you have up here, and you have down here, and you have somewhere in the middle. Diddling in the middle is where you come to the middle and you stay there over time. And so what happens is you're diddling in the middle. This is a place of comfort and stagnation and a plateau. So when you get to the middle, you stay there very temporarily, but it's just a pit stop on the way to a different direction or to retest the direction that you came from. This may sound a bit confusing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on a chart or a graph. I'm going to give you a visual representation of what this looks like. And this is going to be something that you can apply to your life in a variety of different time frames. I'm going to explain what all this means. Welcome to the visual representation of your life here. Okay, we got 3 lines and 1 gray bar in the middle. So remember what I told you, I said don't diddle in the middle, right? We don't want to be doing too much fooling around here in the middle. And there's no growth that happens here in the middle. At best, you make a temporary pit stop here in the middle, but you don't diddle around and play games in here for too long. Okay, it's very dangerous. I'm gonna explain why. So we got the starting line, we got resistance, which is the most difficult part to get past, and then we got the higher highs. This is where all the success is. So ultimately, you want to move from your starting line, past your midpoint, reaching resistance, ultimately breaking through resistance, and then reaching a higher high. That's the journey of success, what that looks like. Here's what most people do. Most people start here. They make some progress moving in the right direction, right? They get here to the middle and they diddle in the middle. They get comfortable, right? Because that middle part, that's where the comfort and familiarity is. And then they run out of steam and they start trending back down, and then they come back up and they hit the midline here again. They diddle around in the middle and they head back down here. That's what most people do. So they never really get past resistance to reach the higher high. Here's another scenario. People come out the gate strong. Bam, 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 bam. Right here. Right? Keep going. They hit resistance. And then they get tuckered out. They get rejected from resistance and they start trending back down the middle here. They give it one more push. Bam, 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 bam. Almost reaching resistance, getting close. They get gassed out, head back down to the middle. And then boom. Back to the starting line. Something happens in life. Life kicks you in the teeth. Boom. Get kicked smooth down the stairs and back up at the starting line again. Never breaking resistance and hitting the higher high. That's also what happens to a lot of people. Here's what you want. You want to move from your starting line, coming out the gate strong. You may get a brief pit stop at the middle. You push past. You hit resistance, kind of get rejected a little bit, come back, ultimately breach resistance, and hitting the higher high. Getting that success here. That's what it should look like. Now, here's another way this may look. Come out the gate hard, boom, diddle in the middle for a little bit, break through, test resistance, get rejected. What's that? Hit resistance, get rejected, come back down, shoot back up, boom, almost break through resistance, almost reach a higher high, come back down, retest, boom, hitting the higher high. It can get a little dicey, right? You make a mistake of staying in the middle a little too long. You get a little bit of a rest break here. You push through strong, hitting resistance, get rejected off of it. But you kind of get a little bit close to comfort, but you're like, nah, I don't want to trend back too far in that direction. You give it another big push. You breach resistance, but not quite to your higher high. You get rejected back down. But you know what? You keep fighting, you stay in the game, and then eventually you retest resistance, break all the way through, and then you hit your higher high. Okay? That's what it could look like. And that's what it looks like for most people who really achieve success in their life. It's a simple overview of what the journey can look like. Now let's put this into practice. Okay? Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say you are a man who is skinny fat. You're 5'9", 5'9 and a half, 135 pounds. You're not overweight. You just look skinny fat, right? I mean, you don't really have much muscle mass on you, so it makes you look like you have a disproportionately high body fat percentage. So it may be a type of situation where you can see your ribs a little bit, but you also got love handles, right? It could be this kind of thing. Love handles and skinny arms and legs, right? This kind of deal. You could pursue the reduction in the love handles by losing weight, but the problem is you don't really have a whole lot of weight to lose because you're not overweight. Your only real choice at this point is to gain muscle mass. So what you do from that point is you decide, I'm gonna dedicate a year to building lean mass. Okay, so if you start at 135 pounds, you want to gain, let's say, 12 pounds of lean mass within the year. So you have a weight gain goal of around 15 pounds, maybe 20. So by the end of the year, you may reach 155 pounds to 160 pounds, let's say. That's what your target is set for. So that's what this looks like. So basically you go into the gym, you got a diet plan, you start eating more, training, let's say Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, something like this. You got a push-pull leg split or some type of hybrid between upper, lower, and full body, whatever you want to do, right? So that's what this looks like. You come out strong, boom, 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 and then boom. You hit this middle point here. The middle point is comfort. You're like, oh, this feels pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty much maintaining here. But you get a little sidetrack, you get a little comfortable. You don't have that fire in you. You sort of lose it a little bit. So you may range here a little bit. You have a slip up or two, so you come back down, right? But you're like, oh, I don't like the direction I'm going and I'm starting to lose some weight. I don't really want to do that. I got to fight through it, right? And the battle you may have in your head is, I'm gaining weight and I feel like I'm gaining body fat. I'm getting a little nervous about that. So maybe I want to take some time to drop the body fat. But if you do that, this is what's going to bring you down here. So what happens is you get rejected from that midline a little bit. You start getting a little nervous. But you're going in this direction towards your starting line. You're like, no, my goal was to gain weight. I don't want to do that. So you start to course correct and come back up here. Back to the midline, passing the midline, right? So you keep going here, boom, boom, and then you hit resistance. Now, at resistance, it's one of these deals here where you're like, I feel like I'm gaining too much body fat again. But I've been here before, this yo-yoing thing. I can't do this no more, right? But you feel tired. You got the muscle soreness. You feel a little discouraged. Things are distracting you in your life. You fall off a little bit. You get rejected from resistance. You come back down here. But you don't want to come back to that comfort line, that midline again, because that feels familiar. You're like, I don't like the trajectory I'm going in. I got to rebound, right? So you touch the midline and bounce back off of it, right? Boom, you hit resistance and you breach through it. And eventually you hit your higher high. Okay. That's what that looks like here. So you start off You struggle at that middle point, get rejected, find your bearings, push through that middle point again, push past, you hit resistance, get rejected. You retest that midline again. It feels familiar. You don't diddle in the middle. You got that warning. You push back through. You hit resistance, you bust through, and by the end of the year, boom, you've reached your 155 to 160 body weight. All right. So now next year, your starting line will be that 155 to 160 as far as your body weight is concerned. You've gained the muscle mass, so you can visibly see you have more muscle mass on you. There's still more work to do, right? There's still more work to do. You started at 135, but now your new starting line is 160. Your higher high becomes your starting line. And you repeat this process year in and year out. That's essentially how this works. So let's say year 2, your starting line is 160. What is your new goal? Well, 160, I want to cut down on the body fat a little bit, right? I kind of want to lean out a little bit. So I want to drop, let's say I'm 155. I want to drop down, let's say 10 pounds. You want to drop 10 pounds, 5 to 10 or 7 to 10 pounds. But you don't want to drop below 147, because if you gain 12 pounds of muscle from a starting position of 135, that means that your lean mass gain is around 147. So you don't really want to drop below 147. So if your starting line is at 155 to 160, ultimately here that higher high is going to be that 147. So you move from here, right? Come out the gate strong with the cutting. You hit that midline of cutting here. And here's what it feels like. You moved from that 155, 160. And then here you've kind of reached you've lost a few pounds, that 150, something like that. You're around 152, 153, something like this, around this middle area. And you're like, I feel like I'm losing a lot of muscle mass. I feel kind of skinny. I don't like it, right? So you diddle around in here, you get rejected a little bit, and you're like, no, I'm moving a little too further away. I remember what happened last time. I got too comfortable and I started heading back towards my main weight. I got to push through. So you retest that midline, you push past, right? You retest resistance, you get rejected off of it, life happens. You come back down to your middle again, and then you push past off of the midline strong, move through resistance, and eventually reach your higher high. And your higher high is going to be like that 147, maybe even 145. All right. So essentially, what that looks like in the grand scheme of things is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It may look like that. In the grand scheme of things, this is what your year may look like. Okay. And truth be told, if you're trying to lean out, it shouldn't really take you a whole year to lean out. Right? So you may take like 12 weeks or something like that to lean out, maybe 16 weeks. So this is what the 16-week journey probably would look like. Okay. If you were doing this on your own and you were following the starting line, the midline, if you were following this framework in your life on the journey, this is probably what it would look like. Okay. And then you hit 147, 145, you got the 6-pack abs, you got the veins popping out of the forearms, you're lean, you got more muscle mass on you, and you're not really skinny fat anymore. Now you're just more athletic looking and lean. That's your new normal now, and that becomes your new starting line. So your new starting line now is the 147, and then you go back into weight gain again. So now what's the next target? Maybe you move from that 147. Now remember, your previous higher high was that 155 to 160. So now your new higher high that which you would want to reach is, let's say, 165 to 170. And this is how it works. From your starting line, you reach a higher high. Your higher high becomes your new starting line. Rinse and repeat. This is essentially how it works. What you don't want is you don't want to move from your starting line to your midline, diddle in the middle, and get rejected. Right? And then get rejected back to your starting line. You don't want that. Right? And you don't want to move from your starting line, diddling in the middle, pushing past to resistance, getting rejected off of resistance, hitting the middle line, and then getting rejected from your middle line and ending up here. And then got to do the whole thing over again. You don't want to do that. This is why this model is so important. Okay, if you know where your midline is, then you know, hey, no matter what, once I reach the midline, I have to push past it. I can momentarily return to it, but I got to bounce off of it. Return to it, bounce off of it. Return to it, bounce off of it until you hit your higher high. So basically what this looks like on a chart as far as your progress is concerned is you're hitting higher highs, higher highs, higher highs on the journey. And then lower high, and then higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, and higher lows. All right. What we don't want is we don't want equal highs, equal lows, equal highs, equal lows. We don't want this here. This right here is diddling in the middle. We don't make any progress here. This is diddling in the middle. This is stagnation. That's why this model is so important. Hit the link in the description to join the community. Every week, multiple times a week, we have live group coaching calls where we go over strategy. Okay, we're talking diet, fasting, training, and mindset strategy. Similar to this. Okay, so all of this is in service towards having you reaching higher highs on a consistent basis, ultimately becoming the best version of yourself. So, having said that, I'll see you on the other side.